could be bigger than Watergate. More big trouble for Joe Biden. The FBI searching a third property, must be nice, in their hunt for classified documents. This time, it was a beach house. The Bureau looking under every boogie board for secret materials. No docs with classified markings were discovered, but handwritten notes from his time as VP, they were taken. The search comes 2 weeks after Biden spent the weekend there relaxing and definitely not instructing Hunter to burn documents that seemed like a big deal. But don't worry, the White House counsel says this was a planned search.
Today, in a planned consensual search with the Justice Department, they went through the Rehoboth beach house, and no classified marked documents were found. This is consistent, I think, with the president from the very beginning of having total cooperation with the Justice Department as it goes through this ongoing investigation. We've been pretty transparent from the very beginning with providing information as it occurs throughout this process. You know, we have released probably thousands of words of statements from the president's personal attorney and the White House counsel's office about the process that has been undertaken here.
Total cooperation. Well, about that trademark White House transparency, we just found out that the FBI searched the Penn Biden Center back in November, but I guess they forgot to tell us. And then there's this. Top Republican James Comer says the National Archives was blocked from telling the public when classified docs were first found.
Right before the National Archives came in, they handed us a letter from the Department of Justice informing them and us that the General Counsel for the National Archives wasn't allowed to say anything about the Biden documents. There are only two people that could have given him those orders, and that's either the Department of Justice with Merrick Garland or the White House with Joe Biden.
Judge, why is it so important that they have to keep saying total cooperation? Isn't that meaningless? What else are they going to do?
Well, what else they can do is they can have Karine Jean-Pierre come out and say, the president has been clear. The president has been clear. Here's the problem. Karine Jean-Pierre, who speaks for the president, constantly says he's been clear, but always says the same thing. I refer you to the White House counsel or to the Department of Justice. The truth is that since all this happened, they've had 6 different people come in to talk about other issues, like someone Kirby from the Pentagon or someone to talk about COVID. Do they bring in someone else to talk about what we want to know? And by the way, they have been so non-transparent in this, because on November 2nd, when we didn't know about it, we didn't hear about this until January 10th. But on November 2nd, that's when they first find stuff at the Penn Biden Center. And then they found stuff on December 20th, but we don't hear about it until January 9th. Now, today, 3 months later, we hear that, oh, they found stuff at the Penn Biden Center that we didn't tell you about. And 3 months later, just in case they didn't have a chance to get rid of everything, we're going to let the FBI go in and search Rehoboth Beach House. I mean, this is outrageous. And the truth as it goes to these reports from the individuals in the White House is they can say it's a planned search. They can say we've said thousands of words. They've said nothing.
You know, Dana, we at the start of this said what was classified might be meaningless. Who knows? That's not what we're concerned with. We're concerned with the fact that they are complete transparency, the way they treated Trump versus this. What do you think about it?
Well, I just imagine all the miscalculations that went into this from the very beginning. The most transparent thing is how transparent they are at hiding it.
Yeah.
So we don't know. They know before the election. They don't tell anybody. They know before they appoint a special counsel to President Trump. They don't say anything. They knew about the and then this one. They say that this was a planned search. Well, it was planned 2 weeks after the president got to spend a weekend there 2 weeks ago. That's kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
And why didn't they tell the press office? That's kind of strange, too. Like, how is that transparent? I don't get it. And also, who can tell the National Archives you're not allowed to talk about it? To me, there's only 2 people, right? It would be the Justice Department or the White House. So could we have some transparency and find out who told the archives they're not allowed to say that? And the truth is, all of these documents could be innocuous. It could be just like, sometimes there is overclassification, and maybe the documents say, oh, you know, there was a briefing paper before we went to AIPAC one year, and here's some information in 2007 about Israel and the posture then. But it's been overtaken by events. It's not important anymore. But they've made a mountain out of a molehill. And the president has said, oh, I can't look at the documents because the lawyers told me not to. I also think that that's, based on my conversations with Andy McCarthy, that not true. Like, you could look at them as commander-in-chief. You're responsible for national security, and they could have put an end to this right away. And they decided not to. And what's interesting is they've always tried to say that the Hunter Biden laptop story is just about Hunter Biden. And then they're trying to say these documents are just about Joe Biden. But is that true?
Yeah, we don't know.
They always wonder why people are so conspiratorial. Why do people think this way? Well, it's because you're not being transparent, and all you say is that you are.
Yeah, and you have a crack-addicted dude with questionable dealings in the same place where classified documents are, while he's dealing and operating with foreign adversaries. So it's like, it's not much of a conspiracy to connect those dots. Geraldo, this is an incredibly timely scandal, right when he decides to run for re-election. Which member of the deep state is setting him up? The same people who went after Trump or Nixon, huh?
Maybe it was them. This is the incredible shrinking scandal. As I've said, there's absolutely no there. We've been talking about this around and around and around, and now Vice President Pence, of course, famously is involved in the so-called scandal. This is totally political retribution. This is all, a reaction or
but from whom?
A fight back from Republicans.
Really? How would the Republicans know this stuff?
Why is it, Greg, that we're talking about a document scandal when there's zero evidence that national security has been compromised, and we're not talking about the Paycheck Protection Program and the billions of dollars that were wasted, squandered, stolen? Over $100 billion, they estimate, was stolen. Why aren't we in a bipartisan?
I think we did talk about it here.
Why don't we, in a bipartisan manner, why don't we go after something the American people care about? They don't care. This is the librarian scolding the people who kept the books overdue. It has nothing to do with anything in American life. Not one family watching this today is affected one iota by this phony scandal.
So you're not offended by the fact that Hunter Biden is collecting bags of money from countries that his father has a direct policy over.
Judge,
that is the story. What we're finding.
You have a junkie. You're only as happy as your unhappiest child.
You know what?
And the Bidens have a very unhappy child.
I don't care about that. What I care about is the president of the United States having a son who is deciding what countries to take millions from, paying his father's bill.
What does that have to do with a box of documents in the garage?
Let me finish. Because the son had access to those documents. He said he was paying $50,000 a month to live there.
Is there one
if he
person
had access,
in all of this
why
scandal,
did he need access?
one person
Because at the same time, he was trying to get on the board of Burisma, and he needed information from his father, who was the energy point man in Ukraine.
Zero relevance to the American people.
All right, Jesse, wrap it up. Tell us why this is important.
Well,
Teach Geraldo.
And don't point.
Geraldo sees shrinkage. I don't see shrinkage. This scandal's a grower, Geraldo. My sources in Rehoboth saw when Joe was there over the weekend, he had a fire. There was smoke coming out of the chimney. I'm not saying he used the classified documents as kindling. I'm not saying that. But maybe I am, Geraldo.
Maybe you are.
And here's how I know it's more about classified documents, because they seized materials and notes from the beach house. If they're only looking for classified documents, why are they taking materials and notes from the beach house? And also, when they went to the Wilmington house, they took classified documents and they took handwritten notes, to-do lists.
I have an idea.
And photos.
Quick idea.
Geraldo. Make it quick.
Find them money. If they keep documents and they're not supposed to have them, fine them. Just the same way a librarian makes you pay when you keep the book overdue.
Hunter's sugar brother can pony up the dough for the fine. He's paying his back taxes, too. When does the FBI let the suspect spend the weekend at the crime scene?
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
OJ, why don't you go rest back at Bundy before our investigators get there? You look tired. So the FBI
that could
has
be the
been
most outrageous comparison.
Totally,
but it's fitting.
They have been. The FBI has been
you're
to Joe's office,
accomplice.
to Joe's house, to Joe's beach house, And you're saying there's nothing going on. They're squeezing this guy. They put him in the White House, and they can take him out of the White House. You talked about what's the big deal.
Who's they?
The same people that got him in.
People who are running
The deep
him.
state?
Also, Hunter is shopping classified documents for cash. You have him on the laptop going to
that
the
is
aluminum
outrageous.
company.
What's
Hey,
the
guys,
proof of that?
I have business intelligence on Russian oligarchs. I'll hand it over for $55,000. Did you know that Hunter Biden was a Russian expert? Did you know he was an artist? I didn't know. He's a real Renaissance man, Geraldo.
And
Where's he getting access to top secret intelligence that he's selling to Blue Star Strategies
What's
in
your,
Ukraine?
your source is his bartender?
My source is the laptop.
At Rehoboth Beach?
It's the laptop.
The other
Great
thing
bars
is
down there, by the way.
they're the ones who suggested through the media that Donald Trump had nuclear secrets
Exactly.
in his
Yeah,
documents.
they were
We're
selling
being
to
very
Russia.
kind.
That was
We're
a
saying these
piggish
documents
thing
are
to
probably
do.
innocuous, but why are you making such a big deal out of it? Well,
Yeah,
they did it to
It
him.
was fake
Well,
against
I
Trump. and
doubt
it's fake
they're
against Biden.
innocuous. He was using them to get on that board in Burisma and to get hired to collect money for the Biden family. But what
tangled
do I
mess.
know?
Different.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.